Welcome to Omar's Story Nook, where history comes alive, legends are renewed, and imagination knows no bounds. Here, every story is not just a past event, but an echo from the soul of Omar, the storyteller across time, truth, and shadow. These stories whisper through every breeze, through every wave, reminding us that water always remembers, carrying memories that the land once tried to bury. And there is one story that refuses to be forgotten, a tale echoing in the tides and in silent graves. In 1803, a group of Igbo people captured as slaves were brought to Georgia, USA. They were shackled, traded, yet they did not silently accept their fate. They stood up, they fought, and they chose something deeper than life in chains. They stepped into the water, not to die, but to resist. This is not a tale of sorrow. It is a story of faith, of spirit, and of return. Not a return to a place, but a return to their sacred essence. At Omar's Story Nook, we do not tell stories to remember. We tell to awaken. Now close your eyes and listen. Coming prisoners, the Igbo were proud people, with rich lives and profound culture. They were diligent farmers, learned scholars, and griots, traditional storytellers preserving history through song and word. Their villages ran on consensus, where every decision was discussed and respected. The Igbo worshipped spirits, honored ancestors, and lived in harmony with nature, knowing their land intimately. They were among the freest and most unyielding peoples in Africa. But the greed of slave traders shattered that peace. In 1803, in what is now southeastern Nigeria, 75 Igbo, men, women, and youths, were captured not by outside enemies, but by betrayal within their own community, then sold to slave traders. They were locked in the cramped belly of the ship, chained, enduring the horrific transatlantic voyage. On board, their bodies suffered pain and salt sores from harsh conditions. Whale songs echoed like thunder inside the ship, yet they endured with resilience. Each held on to hope differently, some silent, some praying, some biting their lips to keep the image of home alive. Upon arriving in Georgia, they were sold again to landowners on St. Simon's Island, then transferred to a smaller ship, the York, to continue inland. But the vast swamps were more than a mere passage. They whispered, calling them home, awakening an ancient power within. As the Igbo boarded the small York to continue inland, something profound stirred inside them. The quiet marshes, winding creeks, and gentle waves seemed to call them back to something primordial and pure. The small boat, cramped and unarmed, left the crew unprepared for a revolt. And that moment was chosen to act. No screams, no chaos, only solemn silence. The Igbo rose, breaking chains with bare hands and indomitable spirit, filled with rage and courage. They needed no weapons, for their strength lay in unity and unyielding will. Chains fell to the floor. Breath returned to bodies once suffocated by pain and repression. It was true freedom, a brief but sacred moment. Yet freedom was not just breaking chains, but the question, now what? How to live when the land around was owned by slaveholders? Black people had no rights to land or liberty, and escape was not a feasible option. They looked around, gazed at the horizon and calm waters, then locked eyes with determined, fearless resolve. They did not choose to flee, but to return to their roots, their spirit, their soul. Witnesses say they entered the water deliberately, standing tall, not faltering or panicked. Some held hands. Others sang in Igbo, not lamentations, but songs carrying prayers and hope. The words were unclear, but deeply meaningful. The water brought us here. The water will take us home. They flowed into Dunbar Creek's waters calmly, not struggling or drowning, dissolving into the current, leaving their physical bodies, but not their spirit behind. Their footprints never returned to shore. Their bodies did not surface. Some called it mass suicide. Slaveholders called it tragedy, but the enslaved called it strength, the ultimate resistance. News of the event spread quickly through Georgia, Carolina, Mississippi, then throughout the South. They stepped into the water and vanished. A terrifying act to rulers, but a powerful inspiration for freedom dreams. This story became the soul of gospel songs, secret church sermons, and lullabies for children born into slavery. The Igbo did not just choose death, they chose spiritual return. Some say they became bats, others that they turned to mist or reunited with ancestors, but all agree they never yielded. Igbo Landing became a sacred symbol, a reminder that even in chains, dignity and spiritual freedom can bloom. Today, walking the quiet roads of St. Simon's Island, locals tell of the landing place, a peaceful bend on a creek where children say the water still sings and fishermen feel strange tugs in their nets. Elders pray passing by, honoring not with possessions but with living memory. Today, the story of Igbo Landing is deeply revered in the American South. In Black churches from Alabama to Virginia, Igbo Landing is not spoken lightly, but like a hymn, a reminder of strength and dignity even in chains. Once seen as legend, documents such as the York ship logs, slave sale lists, and slaveholder complaints prove the event's reality. This event is not just loss, but refusal. The Igbo refused to be renamed, to forget their path home, and most importantly, to let the ocean be just a grave. To them, the sea became a gateway to spiritual freedom. Some believe their spirits still guard the coast. Anyone entering the swamp disrespectfully might be guided out or pulled under, a warning and protection of the story's sacredness. Igbo Landing is not just a historical event, but a living story in the soul and culture of African Americans. It symbolizes resistance, spiritual sovereignty, and the power of choice. The story continues to be told, commemorated, and inspire generations. Their story lives beyond books, in art and popular culture. Murals on school walls, soul songs passed down, and even modern works like Beyoncé's Lemonade MV draw from it. In the video, the woman in white entering the water is not a symbol of death, but transformation, becoming part of nature and eternal freedom's spirit. Many modern poets and artists write about Igbo Landing, making it a constant source of inspiration for those seeking meaning in freedom and resistance. Historians now treat the event with respect, recognizing it as key in the fight against slavery and oppression. Every year, Igbo descendants hold rituals here, pouring water, laying flowers, singing in Igbo to honor ancestors who chose the sea over submission. It is not only remembrance, but an assertion of spiritual sovereignty and self-mastery, even in the darkest times. Igbo Landing is a story of loss, but also rebirth, an ancestral technology transcending physical boundaries, pain, and oppression. They did not beg for freedom. They chose it by their own will. In that choice, they opened a new path, a moment never forgotten, a freedom needing no permission. When people say not all Igbo were rescued, don't see failure or loss. Some saved themselves by choosing freedom on their own terms. They were not captured or subdued, but stepped into the water as a symbol of autonomy and self-sovereignty. They waited for no one's permission to be free. They created liberation themselves. The question, where did they go, is not a mysterious disappearance, but an answer that they returned where they belonged. Not a physical place, but a state of spirit, mingling with water, wind, and the songs we sing without knowing why. They became part of nature, the universe, beyond suffering and chains. The story of Igbo Landing is not just history, but a living legend, a reminder of human spirit's power against oppression. It connects past and present, generation to generation, matter to spirit. It proves the power of choice and fate mastery even in harshest conditions. The ocean still sings their names, preserving the story across time and space. Their echoes remain in stories and dreams of descendants. Igbo Landing never ends but lives on, awaiting the next whispers from Omar to listen and retell. Igbo Landing, the day the waters took them home, is a story not just marking history, but a symbol of freedom and spirit beyond oppression. They did not choose death, but returned to their sacred roots, where souls merge with the sea, becoming part of nature and eternity. This story is not only a tragedy of the enslaved, but a journey of rebirth, spiritual sovereignty, and self-mastery in the darkest conditions. Igbo Landing symbolizes the power of choice, choosing not to submit, not to give up, but to affirm the right to live free in one's own way. Today, Igbo Landing's legacy continues alive through many art and cultural forms, from murals in schools, traditional songs passed down, to modern works like Beyoncé's Lemonade MV. The image of the woman stepping into water is not an end, but a symbol of becoming and transformation. Their story is not just of the past, but an inspiration for future generations, reminding that freedom is not always escape, but sometimes a return to one's true self. They opened a new path where spirit is unchained, where freedom is a sacred and eternal choice. Igbo Landing is a powerful reminder that even in the darkest shadow of slavery, dignity, sovereignty, and resistance, spirit always survive. The story is told, heard and inspires those yearning for freedom and justice worldwide.